Spa-Francorchamps, one of Europe's finest tracks, known across the world as a legendary racing venue steeped in history, from epic victories to crushing tragedies. Designed in the 1920s, the original Spa course utilised public roads between the towns of Francorchamps, Malmedy and Stavelot, and it was a high-speed, flat-out slog. Since then, the track has been reduced and modernised to less than half of the original length, although still retaining some of the key corners. This year, myself, James Cottingham, and Olly Bryant returned with a GT40 for the Spa 6 Hours endurance race. A race which is guaranteed to put both car and driver to the test. It's a real favourite on the historic racing calendar. Today is Friday, it's qualification day for the 6-hour race. Everyone is allowed 2 hours on track to set their best time to ensure a good position on the grid for the actual race. The trick to a successful qualifying is to find a lap without any traffic, so there's nothing holding you back or slowing you down, so you can record your ultimate lap time. Additionally, the drivers in historic motorsport must be careful not to break the car or wear it out before the race itself the following day. So many competitors come into the pits prematurely once they are pleased with their lap time and err on the side of caution. The GT40 myself and Olly are driving is amongst the quickest of the cars on the grid, and we expect to qualify well alongside the other GT40s. It's been developed specifically with this race in mind. After a mixed weather session, myself and Olly qualified with an overall time of 2 minutes 43. This put us 5th on the grid. The first 10 cars are GT40s, and the spread is minute. The rest of the grid is made up of 60s endurance legends such as Cobras, Lotus Elans, Porsche 911s and Jaguar E-Types. It's a very safe place for us to start, and we're very happy. Hoping not to relive last year's disappointing end when the car suffered a broken valve spring on only the second lap after starting from pole, the pit crew worked tirelessly to ensure that everything is perfectly prepared, ready for tomorrow's grueling 6-hour race. After qualifying, we analyse our thoughts and go through the day to see where improvements can be made. This is a crucial part of the process in the pursuit of the perfect lap. Whilst it would have been nice to start on the front row, we're very happy with our position. It's a really safe place to start, and we're going to be able to make up ground as the race progresses. The team has just woken up to weather that's typical of Spa, rain, and the sky looked full of it. Nevertheless, we must push on regardless in preparing the car and readying ourselves for the big race ahead. We have several challenges ahead of us. For example, the race starts at 4, so around half of it will be completed in darkness. Secondly, there'll be need to refuel several times during the race, and it's paramount that we don't get caught up in a long line of cars waiting for the petrol pumps. Fortunately, as the race neared, the weather cleared, and the rain looked like it was set to stop, for the time being at least. There were just over 100 cars on the grid, and once they'd all lined up, they set off for the rolling start, as is often the procedure in historic racing events. Organisers opt for this because it's safer and more mechanically sympathetic to the cars. However, because it's wet, we had to do an additional sighting lap. race was started by Olly, who drove a solid long stint, maintaining great pace and conserving fuel in the wet conditions. Every lap in these conditions you're faced with a battle of passing backmarkers, not knowing whether they've seen you coming, or even if they'll let you past, and at the same time having your own race amongst the other GT40s and having other cars emerging from the pits. For a long middle sector of the race, I jump into the car, having taken over from Olly. We refuel and we rejoin, and we put in some good consistent laps, and we gradually make our way up to second place overall. As my stint progresses, I add to the great work that Olly's already put in, but just before my pit stop, when I was due to hand over to Olly again, I came off the throttle at the end of the Kemmel Straight and I felt a loud vibration come through the car. I wasn't sure if it was engine or gearbox, but I knew it was something that could be terminal. Needless to say, I tried my best to nurse the car back to the pits, but after a half a lap, it was game over. I knew we couldn't go any further. It was gutting to have got so close to a podium. It felt like we could literally smell the checkered flag after 5 long hours, and we only had 1 to go. I knew that we'd driven a near perfect race, our pace was consistent, our strategy was right, our driver pairing strong, and we were really ready for it. But sadly, it just wasn't meant to be once again. If we can take anything away from this, it's perhaps there's a reason why you should always have another go next year. So we'll be back with the GT40 at the Spa 6 Hours in 2020.